Jai Jai Shri Radhe Shyam and welcome. The Life of Love, biography of Srimad Radharaman Charan Das Dev, the veritable embodiment of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's universal religion of love, by Dr. o.b.l. Kapoor. Namaste Gurudevaya Sarvasiddhi Pradayane Sarvamagala Rupaya Sarvananda Vidyayane Ajanjanati Minandasya Anjananjana Salagaya Chakshuru Militanjana Tashmai Shri Gurudevaya Namah. Jai Radharaman Mahavira ki Jai. Jai Nitai, Jai Gaur, Jai Jai Shri Radhe Shyam. The amazing footprints. The next morning, 𝐿𝐸𝐲𝐸𝐿 came and said, Baba, my mother desired that you should all take prasad at my place today, and instead of going out for Nagara Kirtan in the afternoon, perform Kirtan at my house. Baba said, so let the mother's desire be fulfilled. At about 11, he reached 𝐿𝐸𝐲𝐸𝐿's house singing and dancing along with his companion. After resting there for a while, they sat down for prasad. While they were eating, 𝐿𝐸𝐲𝐸𝐿's sister said, Baba, people say that you are a Mahapurush, but I have not yet seen anything extraordinary on you. Parenthesis. This reading is held on Sri Saraswati Puja in this February 14 of 2024. I hope Sri Saraswati will bless you all with perfect knowledge, perfect wisdom, perfect path on Dharma and Paradharma. Sri Saraswati ki Jai. I have not yet seen anything extraordinary in you. Babaji Mahasai say, I am an ordinary person. There is nothing extraordinary in me. But if you want to see something extraordinary, pray to Gaur Nitai. If they want, they can show you something. 𝐿𝐸𝐲𝐸𝐿's mother said, Baba, you may be a Mahapurush or a god. I do not know how I have developed motherly affection toward you and love to treat you as I treat 𝐿𝐸𝐲𝐸𝐻. Babaji Mahasai replied, Ma, this Baba is very sweet and I pray that it remains constant. In the afternoon, many people start coming to the house of 𝐿𝐸𝐲𝐸𝐻. Sankirtan began at about 4 p.m. Babaji Mahasai was dancing and singing, describing the Sankirtan a scene of Lord Gauranga dancing in ecstasy in the midst of his devotees. He was stressing to the point that the name of the Lord was the only way and Nityananda the only guide to the beatific realization, when suddenly he cried, Lo, there is Nitai, entranced, behold, men high and low, caught in his loving hold. He said this and was lost to the world. Tears streamed forth, hair stood on end, and trembling like a plant caught in a blast. He fell in a trance upon the ground. His followers surrendered him and sang the name of the Lord, till at last he regained consciousness and cried in a husky voice, Bhajo Nitai Gaura Bhave Radhe Shyam Japo Hare Krishna Hare Ram. All others repeat in the same strain, and so on till it was about 10 o'clock in the night, when the party divided itself as a dual throng, singing the kirtan by halves, one group singing Bhajo Nitai Gaura Bhave Radhe Shyam, and the other singing Japa Hare Krishna Hare Ram, and being with each other at the top of their voice in a celestial combat. But where was our Babaji Mahasai gone? Lo, there he stood, leaning against the wall, with eyes half closed and a radiant smile upon his face, bathed in tears, swinging from side to side in a transport of delight and raising the forefinger of his right hand, as if pointing out something on high nearby. Delicious scent came floating in the air, they knew not from where, and supernatural joys were felt by those who took part in the Sankirtan. It was about midnight when the Sankirtan was brought to a close, and the devotees came up to the spot where our Babaji stood to bow down to him and take the dust off his feet. There they found, to their amazement, a pair of footprints clearly stamped upon the marble slab on the floor, and a pool of water formed of tears and sweat collect in the depression mark on the slab. This circumstance naturally created a sensation among the people of the neighborhood, and they came in crowds to ascertain the truth and pay homage to the saint. Babaji Mahasaya, of course, tried to make light of the affair, but Devendra Babu came and said, "Dada, it is true. The footprints are there. I have seen them with my own eyes." Babaji replied, "Maybe, I do not know, but this might be due to the Lila of Nitai or the Shakti of the name. It is not fair to attribute it to a particular person. But this does not always happen when the name of the Lord is sung. The fact is that just as a piece of glass reflects light if it is pure and transparent, and the more transparent and powerful it is, the more light it reflects. In the same way, a man with a pure heart who is spiritually advanced reflects the power of the name, and the more advanced he is, the more the power of the name is reflected through him." Babaji Mahasaya did not only leave his footprints on the floor of Yogesh Babu's house, he left indelible prints of his image as a great saint on the hearts of the people of Krishna Nagar. He had now lived in Krishna Nagar for a month and a half. The people had begun to feel that he was their Messiah, who had come from above to deliver them from the bondage of Maya and its never-ending trials and tribulations. They always talk about his ecstatic dance, heart-melting kirtans, sweet words, and above all his affection, which flowed from his heart naturally and freely for rich and poor, young and old, and Brahmins and Shudras alike. To the various subjects of their talk about him was now added the mysterious phenomenon of the footprints, which attract crowds of people every day to the house of Yogesh Babu. Babaji Mahasaya, who by nature shunned name and fame, now began to think of leaving Krishna Nagar. Devendra Babu said, "Dada, it will be difficult to take leave of the people of Krishna Nagar, so let us go to Dignagar without letting them know." Baba agreed. The next day he started with his companion dancing and singing, "Bhayonitai Gaura Radhe Shyam, Japo Hare Krishna Hare Ram." People thought that he was out for Nagara Kirtan as usual. They accompanied him, but when they saw him marching on and on toward Dignagara, they understood that he was leaving Krishna Nagar. They were suddenly struck with sorrow and disappointment. Still they continued to march with him. He, however, persuaded them with sweet words to return home. They returned, but like persons who felt that they were lifeless after their soul was gone. Chapter 15. The Dancing Tree. When Babaji Mahasaya reached Dignagar, he heard men complaining about an unhappy event which had recently occurred in the locality. There was an old banyan tree, and some Mohammedans had taken it into their head to chop off some of its branches for some reason or another. The Hindus regard the tree as sacred, and they were sorely aggrieved at the unsympathetic attitude of their Muslim brethren. Next morning, Babaji Mahasaya set out with his train, as way his wont, dancing and singing the name of the Lord. The villagers came in crowds and joined them on the way, and he led them straight to the banyan tree. There he marked the mischief that was done, passed round and prostrated himself before the tree, and then marched a-singing to the Mohammedan quarter of the town. He went his way as if perfectly familiar with the lanes and by lanes of the entire neighborhood. This was one of the qualities of Radharaman Charan Das Dev, that when he was walking somewhere, he walked in places that he never was before, but he has the ability to simply to walk without even thinking where he's going, but always going to the right path, the right way. Every single place, for the first time, he get to the right places always. All guided by Shri Nityananda Ram. Jai Nitai. He went his way as if perfectly familiar with the lane and by lanes of the entire neighborhood, and they soon found themselves in the residence of Haradan Mandal, a Mohammedan gentleman who enjoyed local reputation and had considerable influence over the Muslim of the place. The villagers, of course, feared a row, and they thought of desisting the Sankirtan party from venturing into the quarter, but they could do nothing. There they were, in the courtyard of Haradan Mandal, and when he appeared, the band of singers like trained soldiers surrounded him on all sides and went on singing and dancing, oblivious of the world and anything else beside. Suddenly Babaji Mahasaya addressed himself to Haradan and roared, "Say Nitai Gaur Radhesham!" Haradan repeated, "Say Nitai Gaur Radhesham!" Babaji said again, "Say Hare Krishna Hare Ram!" Haradan again repeatedly, "Say Hare Krishna Hare Ram!" And so for some 15 minutes, Haradan repeating what Babaji suggested, till tears streamed down to the cheeks and flowing beard of Mandal Sahib, and he began to dance, hands with the rosary of pebbles raised on high, and wooden sandals under his feet. And when Babaji Mahasaya came forward and clasped him to his chest, he was overpowered with joy and came down reeling to the ground beneath. The Sankirtan closed around, and Babaji breathed into his ear, and he trembled and rolled on the ground, and then, blanched with dust, he began to dance with renewed vigor in the midst of Sankirtan. Off went his sandals and knew not where. The rosary slipped between his fingers. He did not perceive. He fixed his eye on the Babaji, muttered in broken accent, and went on his dance. And when our Babaji left the scene and made for the banyan tree, he made one of the party and followed him, hardly knowing what he was doing and where he was going and why. Now, this is hypnotism, one would say. Maybe, but our Babaji was not a trained hypnotist, for aught we know. The fact is that these powers came without any seeking. Yes, they came to the man of love, the power of raising any man and every man to the kingdom of heavenly bliss. where all the petty dissensions are lulled into the harmony and repose of love and joy. So they came back to the banyan tree and went dancing and singing round and round the banyan tree, when lo, what is this? The very branches of the tree seeming to dance in tune with the Sankirtan beneath. Can this be true? They could scarcely believe their eyes. They cleared their look and looked again, but only to see what they saw before. The branches were indeed dancing, the branches just above the Sankirtan below. At first they thought there might have been some bird flapping their wings and moving the branches, but they had soon to give up this idea, for they noticed with surprise that the branches danced only when the Sankirtan was going on, and that other branches danced while the former one stopped and as the Sankirtan moved round and round. Rumors flew apace, and men and women came in crowds to witness the strange performance. The Sankirtan continued till 11 o'clock in the morning, after which, when Babaji Mahasaya was about to retire, our friend Haradan requested him with tears in the eyes to be permitted to stay with him. Our Babaji consoled him, saying that he need not fear, for the grace of God was upon him. Only he should see that the tree might not be defiled again in time to come. He gave the banyan the name of the wish tree, and said that whoever would offer milk, Ganges water, and chirag in the evening at the feet of the tree should have the fulfillment of his desires. Haradan pledged himself and his family to the sacred vow, whereupon our Babaji embraced him heartily, and bidding him goodbye, returned with his Sankirtan back to his lodging. But things like this cannot be readily swallowed by men of the present age, and there came censors and the connoisseurs, the educated and scientifically inclined men of the neighborhood, who still doubt the testimony of the eyewitness of the scene. They had their honest doubt, and it was well that it was so, for these honest doubts act as the cement of conviction when careful experiment removes the doubts and reveals the truth. It was not long before Babaji Mahasaya heard all this, and he wished to show them that truth like gold shines brighter when put to the proof. Personal aspersions he will never mind. We have already seen so much of him in the early pages, but when any of the verities we have mentioned before was called in question, he will at once take up the challenge and prove it to be to the hilt that such doubts only arise out of the ignorance of the higher laws, that work in spite of the arrogant and adverse allegations of the short-sighted, coxcomb and bigoted scientists. Said the Babaji in solemn accent, "I say, gentlemen, the name of the Lord is omnipotent. It is such a trifling thing to be accomplished by his name. This dancing of the stocks and stones, come and see. If you still have doubt, join the Sankirtan, and you shall have ample opportunity of verifying the truth once again." Next morning, Babaji Mahasaya set out with his Sankirtan party, and those who were skeptical inclined accompanied him to the scene of occurrence. It was about 9:30 in the morning when they reached the banyan tree, and the men found to their astonishment that the tree danced again as the Lord's name was sung beneath the branches. They saw it, and yet they would not believe. One of them stepped forward and asked the Babaji if he has any objection to somebody climbing the tree for accepting the truth. He said he has none, provided no non-Brahmin should undertake the task. 2 Brahmins boys were accordingly summoned to get up on the tree, with instructions to ransack the branches and see if there was any bird or monkey or any other animal that might have been swinging the branches that seemed to dance to the tune of the Sankirtan, but they could not find nothing. And so it was finally established beyond the shadow of a doubt and universally accepted as a true. This dancing of the branches of the tree, they naturally attribute it to the power of the saint. More so, when they look at our Muslim friend Haradan Mandal, the leader of the Mohammedans, regarded with fear by their Hindu neighbors. This Mandal, who had come again and singing with tearful eyes along with the others in the Sankirtan party. The same thing was repeated for 7 consecutive days, and the branches danced whenever the Babaji sang with his party under the banyan tree. Our Radhika Babu approached Babaji Mahasaya and asked him respectfully to explain the mystery of the dancing tree. Babaji Mahasaya said, "Vegetables have internal consciousness as well as the animals, and they are more or less sensible of pleasure and pain. The Shastras say that the tree can see and taste as we men do. And we can demonstrate the truth by noticing that the tree embeds selective action as it takes in air, light, water, and salt for its consumption and subsequent growth and development. And also that a creeper plant at a distance of 5 or 6 yards is always sure to surmount the obstacles and make its way to the neighborhood tree. Facts like this go to show that vegetables can see and they have their tastes and tendencies in common with the animals, with the difference that in the latter they are more clearly pronounced and more strongly manifest than in the former. So the qualities are more easy to see, the differences and qualities in animals than in trees, in plants, but they are there. But they are there, and so we should think twice before we carelessly harm these plants, for then we might be guilty of some such offense as cruelty to animals when we try to injure them. Our Shastras go further and say that even men may sometimes, for some serious offense or on their part, find themselves transformed into plants in the course of the future transmigration of their souls. This may sound rather strange, and men may be disinclined to accept it as true, as the theory of evolution might have got a firm hold in their minds. But it is not the less true on that account, for if evolution is true, involution is also true, the one being necessarily implied in the other. Then he proceeds to point out that the being in the tree was a saint, who came to be born as a tree for some serious offense, and there is a list of such offenses with like consequences recorded in the scriptures, committed in a previous life, and as such danced like a saint and a devotee when the name of the Lord was heard. He then asked all present thenceforward to regard all being with love and respect due to them. Jai-ho, Babaji Mahasaya ki Jai, showing supreme love to all living creatures, living entities. Life of Love ki Jai. Thank you, Dr. o.b.l Kapoor, for this wonderful work. And thanks to all of you for listening in this holy day, holy occasion of Sri Saraswati Puja. Mahavira Radharaman ki Jai. Jai Nitai, Jai Gaur, Jai Jai Shri Radhe Shyam. Bhajanitai Gaur Radhe Shyam, Japo Hare Krishna Hare Ram.